blog post 15 some years ago when you said the Supreme Court needs a Floridian on there. It's bizarre that we haven't had one. You were a little bit premature. You were an early adopter of the theory, but here we are. And, Justice Jackson will soon be taking the bench. Can you tell us a little bit about that and your thoughts on the subject?
Really amazing. So I started the blog, over 15 years ago, 4th of July weekend. I was bored one weekend. Similar start to the podcast. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was sort of bored and wanted to try something new. And the blog sort of took off, and a lot of judges liked it. And so it got momentum. And the first post, you're right, was this calling for a Florida Supreme Court justice to come from Florida to get to the Supreme Court. We ended up with a wonderful Justice Jackson, who grew up going to Palmetto High School debating. I went to the rival high school, Killian High School down here, and grew up with her on the rival debate teams. We traveled a lot together. You couldn't ask for a nicer, smarter, better person. One of the things that really bugged me during her confirmation hearings was how they went after her for being a criminal defense lawyer. It is so wrong and crazy that they did that. They also went after her for some of her rulings as a district judge, in which she sentenced, some of her sentencings, which were right in line, by the way, with all of her Republican colleagues. So they were just looking for an excuse. It's hard to imagine someone more qualified, nicer. It should have been 100-0 vote. Really should have been.
Yeah, and I think, first of all, I share the same sentiments. You obviously have a longer history to appreciate it, but I've long felt like diversity on the bench, and I'm primarily talking about diversity of professional workup before you take it or get elevated to a certain part, is so important. The bench, I've always felt like, should be representative of the people before it, including the lawyers, especially the lawyers. And even on the civil side, what we find, I think on the federal side, what you find, when I say civil, I'm talking about in state court and civil courts when you walk in, is it's a lot of judges who have more often than not experience as either prosecutors or insurance defense lawyers. Mm-hmm. And I know that on the federal bench, odds are they were probably a former federal prosecutor or worked for the government in some capacity, just, from a statistical probability standpoint. And that always struck me as odd, because I'm a little biased, but I'm trying to be objective when I say being a criminal defense attorney and representing individual human beings, American citizens, standing up for the Constitution. I mean, how could that ever be a black mark on your resume for purposes of qualifications? I don't think it can. And so I'm very excited to have that diversity of thought and experience taking the highest court in the land.
In the old days, it used to be quite a badge of honor. John Adams, Abraham Lincoln, all criminal defense lawyers. Now, of course, it's a black mark, which is insane. And in a lot of ways, again, here, I think you see the crossover between plaintiffs' work and criminal defense work. You see very few plaintiffs' lawyers make it to the bench. It's bizarre, probably because you guys are making too much money. But the truth is, we need more people on the bench who have represented individuals, as you say. Right. Most of the judges were either prosecutors who never represented anybody, or they were corporate lawyers who represented corporations or insurance companies, as you say. It's very different when you have a person who you're representing, an actual live person, whether it's criminal defense, plaintiffs. You get to see how the case has affected them personally, their family, something that prosecutors and corporate lawyers don't see. And it's important to have that experience on the bench. I think, we need many, many more folks like that to be represented.